Hi guys, it's Mrs. Millicent. Okay, you guys have started to work on Unit 2, which talks about objects, which are instances of classes. Okay, so I wanted you to kind of see the background of a class, and we're going to create some instances or some objects based on this class. Okay, I've created a class called Students, okay, and the student's going to have the following characteristics or attributes or variables: the first name, last name, their ID number, what grade level they're in, 9th, 10th, 11th, or 12th, what school they attend, and their GPA. And then you'll notice that I put the appropriate variable type in front of the variable name, okay? We'll get into the structure of how to build a class when we get to Unit 5, okay? But I just want to kind of show you the background, because if you're working with the turtles in Runestone, I kind of want you to see a little bit of background. I found this helpful, okay? All right, so this is my class file. These are my instance variables or my characteristics or my attributes of all my students, okay? This is called a constructor so that I can create multiple students. I can create multiple instances of my class. I can create multiple students for my students class, okay? So what I have to do is I have to put in their first name, last name, ID number, grade level, school, and GPA. Now you'll notice these variable names, I do have the variable type in front. These variable names are slightly different, okay? I like to make them slightly different just so I can remember what's what. In the constructor, for each variable that for each value that I'm going to put in the parameters for the constructor, I have to match it back to the original instance variable, okay? So L name is going to match back to last name, okay? So these variables on the left are always my instance variables, and these are on the right are always the variables from my constructor, okay? And we'll build constructors. We'll talk about building constructors in the next video, okay? Okay, so now I have what I need to go ahead and build or create some objects, some student objects, some instances of my student class. So I'm going to need a new file, because you'll notice in this file, there is no main method. This file actually doesn't run. Okay, this is my class file. So I'm going to do a brand new file, and I'm going to call this JCS students, okay, for our county. Now this one is going to be, this is going to be my main method file. Okay, and in this file, I'm going to create multiple students. Okay, so again, how do I create an object? I have to do the object name, so it's, students. My goodness. Okay, and again, I got that back from here. Here's my class name, and then I'm going to name it. I'm just going to be kind of generic, and I'm going to write student 1, okay, equals new student. Okay, so this, let me open up my parentheses for my parameters. This is my shell. This will change every single time. So this is the class name. That's got to be students. This is the class name. So I'm saying take my students class, create a new students, okay, a new student, a new object, a new instance, and I'm going to call it stu1. Now inside my parameter parentheses, I need to go back and I need to put the first name, last name, ID number, grade level, school, and GPA. Strings have to be in parentheses, okay? All right, so I'll just do, I'll do me. So there's my first name, last name. I kind of forget what's next. Let me pop back. ID, grade level, school, and GPA. ID number, whatever. Grade level will put me in 9th grade. Will be in 10th grade. What was next? I kind of forgot. School and GPA. Okay, so school, we'll do our school, JHS, and GPA, I'll give myself a 3.0. Okay, so now I've created one instance or one object of my students class. Okay, let's do another one. I'm just going to put a space just to look. Okay, we're going to call this student 2. Okay, and again, I'm being a little generic with my student names, my object names. So, new students, And I'm going to do another student. Let's do Sam Jones, 4, 5, 6, 7. We'll make them a ninth grader. We'll put them at Washington, the other high school, and we'll give them a GPA. He's a ninth grader, so he doesn't have a GPA yet, okay? So we'll give him a GPA of 0.0, okay? There, you come into high school, you don't have a GPA to start with, okay? Unless you've taken high school classes in middle school, but that's beside the point, okay? Now, what we want to do is so we can kind of see these objects. We want to print them. So if I just print student 1, okay, and print student 2, I'm going to put an empty line between them, okay? Now let's compile. Oh, I haven't saved this one yet. Okay. I have a couple warnings just because my variables haven't been used. That should be okay. Okay, so let's run. Now you'll notice it printed the memory address of where Barb Millison is being housed on the computer and where Sam Jones is. It's not printing all the name and all that information. So what I need to do, I'm going to come back to my class file and I'm actually going to create a print method, okay? Now this is a little bit beyond, you don't have to worry about it, but I think it's interesting for you to see. So this is a constructor, so we're going to do a method, okay? Public string to string, okay? And what this method does, let me give myself some room, it returns all the values of my object, okay? I have to build it though. I have to build it, okay? I'm gonna lower this a little bit so I can see. So I'm just gonna type out my variable names first, okay? Just so I don't forget them. And remember, these are my instance variable names. I got to come back to up here, not these variable names. These just exist in my constructor. These are the real variable names. Okay, so I want to say something like, actually, I think I'm going to do the last name first. Let's do last name and then first name. Okay. Okay, so I wanted to say last name, and I'm going to concatenate here. I'm going to put a comma space between the last name and the first name, right? So it'll say Millison, comma Barbara, and then I want to do I want to go down to the next line. So I'm going to do that \n, and then I'm going to go down to the next line, and then I'm going to type ID with a colon, because then the ID number will be right next to it, okay? And then after ID, I'm going to, I forgot a plus right there. After ID, I'm going to put plus, let's see. Let's do plus, let's say ninth grade. So we'll do 9th, 10th, 11th, and 12th. So ninth grade, at whatever school, okay? I'm going to come down and then GPA. Okay, so let's look at this. I think I need to add another line here. So last name, comma, first name, go down a line, the ID. I definitely need some spaces in here. So let's put a space, and then it'll say, so like 1, 2, 3, 4, and then it'll say 10th grade at Washington or at Jefferson High School, And then before the GPA, let's go down another line, okay? We learned about those escape clauses earlier, okay? Now, this is the end of my line of code, so I'm going to put a semicolon. And what I'm going to put in the front is the word return. Because in a method, when I want something to be returned, I have to use the word return. And in this method, I must return a string. So this is going to be my nice long line of string. Okay, let's compile. And again, don't get bogged down in this. I just want you to kind of see what's going on. Okay, so now when I come back to Jefferson County students, when I print, it will go back and it'll use this public string to string print method. Okay, this is just kind of a built-in thing. Okay, now let's run it. Okay, let's see what we got. So there we go. It printed last name, first name, ID, 10th grade at JHS, GPA 3.0. Jones, Sam, there's his ID. He's a 9th grader at Washington High School. He's got a GPA of 0.0. Okay, I just wanted you to see really how we create objects or instances of a class. Okay, so I can sit here and I can create multiple students. Okay, and I can give them their names, their ID numbers, their grade, their school, their GPA, and so forth. Okay, this little print method over here, don't stress about it too much. It's the first time you've seen it. We'll see it a lot in the future. Okay, but just be aware that this is a method, and I'll talk about methods later on. Okay. All right, so actually let's go in here. Before we finish, let's create another student real quick. Let me come down here. Let's do a student 3 equals new students, and you can type whatever you want. Let's see. Let's do Jill Smith. Hard to make up people's names. Let's do 8765 as their ID number. We'll say they're in 3rd grade because they are at South Jefferson Elementary. I got to put that in quotes. South Jefferson Elementary. And of course, they don't have a GPA. Elementary kids don't have GPAs. Okay. But let's go ahead and print them. Okay. Oops, let me scroll down a little bit. I am going to put a blank line here. Okay, so now I'll have a 3rd student. Okay, let's run. And there's my Jill. Okay, so we got Barb to print, Sam to print, and there's Jill. Okay, and it follows the same pattern to print from my string to string method. Okay, all right, so you just created 3 objects of your students class, 3 individual students, which are also called instances of your class. Okay, see you next time.